Hashtag KB's CBT, let's get crafty. Thank you very much, Mr. Uber. There you go, another one on the house, ladies and gentlemen. Uber, you wouldn't have thought about it. They've never asked for any cash yet. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen, as the car goes past in the heart of Lincoln. Farming country. You can feel the leftovers, the remnants of that student party last night, and the slow creep of Christchurch as it comes towards us every day, second by second, as the Canterbury region just gets bigger and bigger. We're not here to talk about the Canterbury region, ladies and gentlemen. We're here to talk about the laboratory, and behind me is, or in front of you, is craft brewers and culinary chemists. The laboratory, they brew the beer out here in Lincoln. It's an absolutely beautiful building. You wait until you get inside. Come with me as we research the laboratory. So now you're inside the laboratory, ladies and gentlemen. The best idea is, if you're lucky enough, like I am, to go up and ask Martin himself from the laboratory for a Keith Preen paddle. Just go up and ask them and they'll pour you one up. And Martin, I believe you've already done so, have you?
This is one I prepared earlier.
Lovely. There you go. Look at this. So we've got seven different beers there to try. This is going to kick off the day just lovely. What have we got? So in number one?
So we've got a lager here.
Yes.
So that's your easy drinking beer.
Yes, that sounds like me.
Yeah, so, and then a wheat beer.
Yes.
So that's another sort of lightish beer. And then we've got a bitter there.
Yep.
Hand-pulled English style best bitter.
Hand-pulled, that's something I'd like to learn a little bit more about.
And then there's a stout there.
Yep.
An oatmeal stout, actually.
It's quite dark, that one, isn't it?
Dark one, yeah. And then a little bit hazy there, but that's an IPA and India Pale Ale, so a nice hoppy one there.
India Pale Ale, right.
India Pale Ale. And then we've got, actually this was a brown ale, wasn't it? Not
brown
stout.
ale, was it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
this was a brown ale.
Yep.
So and then the stout's here. This is the oatmeal stout. And then finally finish off with a nice cleansing sour beer.
A sour beer?
Yeah, well, it's a Berliner Weiss. So it's not super sour, but it's certainly sort of refreshing. Yeah. Refreshing.
Well, I'm going to kick off, and I notice, Martin, the beakers. You're going with the laboratory theme here, and aren't they cute?
Yeah, lovely, aren't
Beautiful. So what should I be expecting to get out of a wee sniff and a taste of the lager?
So lager's kind of very malt-driven kind of beer. So honey, caramel, slightly sweet malt, not too much hop, a little bit of hop. We've got some New Zealand hops in there just to give it a little bit of bitterness to balance it, but it's not super aromatic, it's not too bitter either. So it's for people that perhaps,
have just mowed the lawns.
So
it is delicious. It's that crisp aftertaste. It's got a sort of, the lager, you just feel satisfied, don't you?
Yeah, perfect, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have a try of the wheat beer. So
now this wheat beer. Now, being out in Lincoln, there's a bit of wheat growing around these parts.
There is a bit of wheat grown around here. Canterbury Plains, great place for growing wheat and barley. Of course, most beers are made out of barley.
Yeah.
And the wheat beers have got about 50% wheat in them.
50, as opposed to what were the?
As opposed to 100% barley.
Yep, for the lager.
In the lager, yeah.
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 So this is, but these are potentially the wheat beer is even more refreshing, is it?
Yeah, probably more refreshing. It's kind of got more sort of spicy. You get cloves, bananas, bubble gum, those sort of flavours and aromas from wheat beer.
At what stage of the process do you put the bananas and the bubble gum in?
So that's the yeast. So the yeast does all that.
Creates bananas and bubble gum.
It creates esters, chemicals that actually smell and taste a bit like the ones that are in those fruits.
Yes.
It's just like a lot of beers, they talk about beers being fruity. We don't put fruit in a lot of our beers, although you can make fruit beers, but yeah, on the whole, it comes from the yeast and from the hops, the sort of most of the flavours and aromas that are like that, the fruity ones.
And is that sort of, is there an amount of time that it's brewed for to be able to get to bubble gum, or
That depends. Yeah.
how do you know when you've got the bubble gum? I mean, back in my day, I'd just go down and get a 50-cent mixture and, giant gobstopper.
Yeah. Great.
My mother loved that.
Yeah. So that depends on the temperature that you ferment at. Fermenting at different temperatures will give you different types of flavours from the yeast as well. So, yeah. Okay.
So we've had a lager, which was absolutely delicious. The wheat beer, which I seem to have taken to like a fish to water.
Yeah. The next one we're going to try is...
originally from, Mum?
I'm from London. Yeah.
From London.
London in England.
There you go. Now you've ended up in Lincoln.
Yeah.
Lovely.
So I grew up drinking cask conditioned beers from these hand pumps that, of course, you get in pretty much every pub in England that you go into. And,
so it was a toss-up between, should I move back home or should I bring home to Christchurch?
That's right.
And you decided for the latter.
Yeah. And so that's what I brought, which was cask conditioned real ales, and that's the next one you're going to try, which is the best bitter.
It was a nice little segue, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah.
So what should I be looking for? You say this is cask brewed?
Yes, cask brewed, so it won't be quite as fizzy as the last one.
Yeah.
And might not be quite as cold, but still we serve it at about 10 degrees.
Yeah, as opposed to what was the lager at?
We serve those at about 4 degrees.
Yeah.
So sort of fridge temperature, whereas this is more like cellar temperature. And
cellar, speaking of which, you'd sell a bit of that, wouldn't you?
We do, that's very popular.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Well, that is nice. It's it's that little bite at the end that makes you just want to keep coming back for more.
Yeah, so it is a best bitter, so it's got a bit of hot bitterness in there. And we called it Best of Both Worlds because it's a sort of an English-style beer, but we're brewing it and using New Zealand ingredients, particularly the hops, which are New Zealand hops.
Yeah.
Bit of a mixture. We've got some English hops in there as well, so yeah. Best of both worlds.
Beautiful. I'll have one more sip while you introduce the next one.
Okay, so the next one is a brown ale. Browns are sort of halfway to a stout.
Yeah.
And, using a few more of those roasted...
So is stout the darkest it goes?
Yeah, pretty much. That's black.
Yeah.
This is just a very dark brown. If you hold it up to the light, you'll be able to see that there's a sort of nice chestnutty hue to it.
Yeah.
And so you're getting more of these roasty, toasty sort of flavours into a beer like that. This is an American brown, and what we mean by that is it's got some hops in it, whereas a traditional English brown ale wouldn't have so much hop character. This has got some more hops in it, and
now that one's a bit more foamier than the other one.
Bit foamier, yeah.
Is that? Do they tend to get foamier the darker they get, or?
The dark beers sometimes retain their head a bit better.
Yeah.
With the hand pumps, it depends how we pour them. We've got a little thing called a sparkler, which is...
as in like Guy Fawkes sort of, where you write your name in the sky.
Yeah. It is. It's the same word as sparkler, but it's more of a sprinkler, really. It's just a little thing that you put on the end of the pump, and it's got a nozzle. It's a nozzle, with holes in it. And what it does is it agitates the beer and means that it breaks down the surface tension, makes tiny little bubbles, and those bubbles last longer than the bigger bubbles. So the smaller you make the bubbles, the creamier the head and the longer it lasts, and that's what the sparkler does.
Right, so that nozzle makes the bubbles smaller.
Gives it a nice head, and makes it last a bit longer.
It's delicious, isn't it?
So now we're on to the IPA. It is our most popular beer, this one.
You can smell that. Yeah. Now that's got a...
Yeah, so that's got that fruity smell, hasn't it? So this is...
It's almost like celery.
This is an American pale ale, so it's got a lot of American hops in it, which gives it those fruity things. You're getting celery, which isn't really a fruit. It's more of a vegetable. So,
I've been told worse.
But should be more.
Well, taste-wise, we're onto fruits for sure.
We should get the sort of tropical fruits like
nearly wine-like.
Passion fruits and mangoes and guavas and things like that.
Yep.
And maybe some citric fruits. It's sort of maybe
definitely that bite of the citrus in there. Isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, this one's called Isotopic, and it is our flagship beer, and it's it's almost always on here. We try and have it on all the time. So it's 6.2%, so it's not for wimps.
Guacamole.
So you don't need to drink a whole heap of it, but it is intense flavour, and it's the beer of the moment.
Now, next up the stout.
Next up, we're on to the stout. So that's an oatmeal stout that we make. So putting oatmeal in your beer gives it a kind of silky, smooth texture, and also better head retention.
Yep.
And that's what we got there, the oatmeal stout.
Lisa's turned up to work out the back there. Hello, Lisa.
Yeah, Lisa's here. Hello.
Yep. All right, so I'll have a wee go on that. And now this is going to be a...
This is going to be really roasty, toasty, but maybe chocolatey, slightly chocolatey, coffee flavours, those sort of roasted bean type flavours.
Oh, yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not using the right term, but the viscosity. Viscosity,
yeah, that's a great term.
Here I am using rather large terms to a chemist here.
So that's the mouthfeel, really, isn't it? It feels thicker on your tongue.
Well,
and that's
silky on the...
Yeah, that's because of the oatmeal in it, so it gives it a nice silky texture on your tongue, which is good.
I'm glad I took an Uber here, to be honest, Martin, because I won't be driving after this. Well, I have to say, Martin, it slightly scares me, the thought of a sour beer.
The sour beer.
But that's the only one left in the Keith Preen paddle, so...
It's looking at you.
It is. Give me the glad eye.
Yeah, so give it a go. I mean, sour beers, though this one's actually soured in the kettle. It's called kettle soured. It's a Berliner Weiss style, so it's soured in the kettle.
Now, what's Berliner Weiss mean?
It means
Berlin.
It means a wheat.
Weiss is
white, isn't it? It's a white beer from Berlin, so it's their style of beer that they make in Berlin. Yeah, so it's refreshing.
Golly gosh, that.
It's not really puckering, probably. Some sour beers can be like...
Not as sour as I thought it was going to be. Yeah.
But this is just probably refreshing and light. It's kind of like a bit like a cider. If people like cider, then they'll probably like to try a sour beer, because it's a similar sort of level of acidity.
It's got an element in... me girlfriend likes to drink a bit of the... like a Chardonnay or something like that. It's an element of it's Chardonnay to it.
It is kind of wine-like.
Yeah.
In that it's slightly more acidic.
She says to me, if you're going to a party, Keith, take a Shardy. That's what she says. So we've had a lager, we've had a wheat beer, we've had cask ale,
brown ale,
a brown ale, and an IPA, a stout, and a sour beer. And after all of that, I can still remember all of them. I think I've done well, Martin, don't you?
You've done very well, Ken.
Oh, look, I'm going to have a bit of a look around this amazing room, and potentially you can give me a bit of a heads up on what relates to what as far as this amazing building that you've set up here.
Yeah.
All right? It's a pleasure to meet you.
And you.
For the people who are listening, and they're standing here and they're going to think that this place has been here for, I would have guessed it, 100 odd years. But it's actually a collection of amazing sections of buildings that fell prey in the earthquake that you've cobbled together, and you've made the laboratory. One of these days I'll get it right. I need another tasting tray.
Yeah. The whole thing was a huge experiment.
Yes.
We collected for salvage for over 3 years and kept it in a lifestyle block in the barn there.
Yeah.
And thought, one day this is going to fit together.
Right.
We hoped it would.
Yes.
So it started with us identifying these trusses, which are from the old Woods brewery.
Yeah, right. So that was on the
street. So that was the first piece of the jigsaw, really.
Yep.
May 2011.
And that's for those who are doing the Keith Preen craft beer tour. There's the Pomeroys, and right next door to Pomeroys is where these trusses came from, and they've come all the way out to Lincoln and are the rib cage of the laboratory.
Yeah, the building was designed around them.
Yeah.
The architect was like, those are pretty big.
Yeah.
I said, that's okay. So,
And were they always this beautiful wooden finish?
No, they've been sandblasted.
So
they were painted, left by the side of the road, avoided the jaws of death.
Yeah.
Transported by high-abbed over into our farmyard.
Yeah.
Engineers came and crawled all over them. We thought, oh, I hope they're good enough, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're Oregon pine. They must have come either made up or the wood come over from Canada.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't pine that mature in New Zealand back in
they're pretty hefty, aren't they?
What was the Ward's Brewery?
1860 something,
it
I
was
think.
built. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So there's a lot of history just right there.
Right there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And kind
yeah.
of cool that the Ward's Brewery was the first brewery in Christchurch.
It was the first one,
And that name was taken into the Canterbury draft,
Yep.
wasn't it?
It was taken over
Was
by
Ward's.
New Zealand breweries,
Yeah.
and then they moved it to St Asaph Street, and that's where they brewed Canterbury Draft, Ward's Canterbury Draft. So there's a lot of history in those trusses.
See, I would urge those listening to, without getting in trouble, just to stand up on a chair and try and reach the trusses and feel the history. Yeah, indeed.
We need to point out the surround. This is, what is it, Martin? Is it Jarrah?
This is
Kauri.
Kauri. So the
Huge piece of
wooden
kauri.
beam that's around the log burner
Yeah.
in the middle of the room actually came from the old Twisted Hot pub in Poplar Lane.
Oh, right.
So
this was
Had
the
an
bar.
L-shaped
This
bar
was the bar,
counter.
yeah. So those of you
Yeah.
that remember the bar,
It was mounted on
it was
concrete.
L-shaped, but then we had it chopped up a bit more to fit around the. We didn't want to throw this one away.
No.
This was an amazing
Serious
carpenter.
bit of
He
kit.
spent about 3 days doing it, working it out, and came up with
Yeah.
this. Yeah, so we had a little plaque made in loving memory of Bar Counter.
Of bar counter.
Yeah,
The Twisted
bar
Hot, 6
counter.
Poplar Street. Oh, God, I'm going to cry. 26th of August 2004 to the 22nd of February 2011.
Well, there you go. Shall we have a
So
moment's
that's-
silence for the bar?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm over it.
Okay,
Right.
let's do it. Yeah. And,
Oh, dear.
she's welled up. I have that effect on women, don't worry. You know, with the backdrop of a, that's going to be about 25-metre high brick wall there.
Yeah, so the bricks are all out of the Canterbury sale yards.
Yeah,
so
right.
they were in the ground there. They
Yep.
were the ones that paved the ground that the sheep and the cows walked over.
Yes.
And we found a lovely man through Trade Me who was lifting them up with his daughter, one by one, putting them on a trailer, and he brought them to us and stacked them on pallets across the road there.
You have to be joking.
17,000.
17,000
Did it every Saturday
bricks.
morning with
Yeah.
his daughter. They lived in Rangiora, hired a trailer. They didn't even
Dual
own
axle?
a trailer. No!
A single
We had
axle?
to do it in 2 loads
Yeah.
to give us a pallet.
Christchurch.
And he stacked the pallets up over there
Yeah.
on the ground. The council said, yeah, it's okay, you can start storing stuff, because we didn't want to be double handling everything.
Yeah.
So they stored it beautifully stacked up on, and that was the
How
father
many
and daughter
loads was that?
bonding thing. Oh, it took months.
17,000,
It took months.
and I mean, how many bricks are you getting on a trailer?
I think it was
About
I used to pay
300
him about-
300.
Yeah.
maybe on a trailer.
Now, I'm not much good at maths, but
That
that's
was a lot of
fair
back
few
and
trips.
forth. Yeah.
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 Well, hats off to them if they're
Yes.
listening. And
Yes, correct.
yeah.
We remember him well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another brewery link actually is
Yes.
with the Hororata bar counter.
Oh,
They
that-
used to brew beer at the Hororata pub.
Right,
And
so
that's
if
where
you're
this bar
standing-
counter came from.
If you're standing directly in front of the bar, you'll see a plaque up on the wall there. It says Stout Ale Hororata Heritage.
Yeah.
So this bar came from the Hororata pub
Yeah. Complete with the
with the
thingy
brass,
that you need.
brass
Yeah, with-
Foot rail.
Foot-rail.
That,
For
yes, I
anyone
noticed
who's
you
having a-
swapping your hips, getting a bit.
yeah. No, I've got the
Swap over, yep.
it's bung on the left but good on the right. So yeah, but I mean that's a beautiful part of sitting and
Yeah.
having a chat to someone in a pub that you
Yeah.
either know or don't know or are trying not to know any longer. So now that we're in here in the snug, we're surrounded by clocks, and you might have heard one of those earlier, and radios, amazing wireless collection, and
Radiators.
Beautiful warm radiators.
Yeah, they're on today.
Today.
They are nice.
And then, let's just briefly pull up a chair, and if you're listening, and you can, pull up a chair, or if not, just sit on someone's knee. You don't know, because we're
That's the surrounded. Sort of place it is.
Yeah, exactly. It's friendly here. And so we've got, there's Banks Peninsula on a map there, and what else are we looking at?
West Coast of Scotland.
West Coast of Scotland.
Southwest England, London, Lake District, Indonesia.
These are all the places that we've been on holiday or lived.
Right.
Met. Or where we had our first house in lovely...
SW19.
SW19.
Yeah.
What's SW19?
SW19. Well, is that inside or outside the ring road?
That's in London. Just inside the ring road.
Oh, that was before the M25.
But there's the ring road inside.
I see. Yeah.
So would you say, Martin, that as far as the maps go, just to paint the picture for these folks, is that the North Wall?
That is the North Wall.
Yeah, the North Wall.
Yeah.
So there's a map on there that you'll see some English roads on there. It's got a river running through it. Am I looking at the right one?
That's right.
Yeah. And then you've got Banks Peninsula just above that with the light coming out the wall. What else have we got up there?
We've got
Sulawesi up there.
We've got some Indonesian maps,
Sulawesi, where's that?
Aaron.
Excuse me, ignorance.
Sulawesi is where they just had that
had the
terrible
earthquake.
Tsunami.
Where's Sulawesi?
Oh, is it?
Where have you been?
I don't think.
God bless them.
I don't think we got Sulawesi.
That's Portland Firth. Sorry, that's Scotland.
Pentland Firth. That's the Shetland Islands.
Looks
isn't
similar to Sulawesi's over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, southeast Sulawesi's. Over here.
down the south wall by the radios.
Actually.
And what else have we got? So you lived in Indonesia for a bit.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
And that's where we collected.
Some cool furniture, actually,
Yeah,
that we've got
some
upstairs.
furniture.
Well, look,
Go upstairs.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
And because I believe that upstairs, and you go first, just in case it's not made, Martin, you've got an opium bed.
Just in case. Hang on a minute, I need to sort it out.
Yeah. I'm going to make myself comfy.
Yeah.
Shall we have a sit down?
Yeah.
Look at this. This is beautiful. And you've travelled this halfway around the world.
Yeah. We kind of knew it would come in useful for something.
Did it come directly from Indonesia to New Zealand, or did it go to England and then back?
No, straight here.
No.
Yep.
Couple of
straight
containers
here.
of stuff. Most of it went into our home that we built.
Yep.
And the rest was, I don't know if that's going to fit in the house, but I mean, how can you throw away something like
Yeah,
that?
it's absolutely.
So I had to build a pub around it.
And people come up here and they
do. There's no children up here.
No
'cause
children?
They rather liked jumping on the opium bed.
Oh.
Now that's got to nip that in the bud.
Yes. So no
adults
children.
only
I saw it written
area.
on the stairs. Isn't
Yeah.
it?
So,
I
but
thought-
children can't read.
I thought to myself, yeah, that is interesting, isn't it? No, I thought to myself, am I allowed up here? But oh well.
Just
snuck
as
through.
long as we keep our eye on you.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
Under supervision.
So you could
so-
come up here and potentially, have a beer and play a game of cards and.
I wondered what you were going to say.
No.
Potentially, yeah.
Great minds
Yeah,
think
so
alike.
lovely in the day for a quiet coffee, read the newspaper.
Yeah.
And of an evening to hide from the children.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I might have to bring my lovely girlfriend up here for a wee snuggle and maybe
A
some
cuddle,
pork crackling on my knee, and you do
Perfect,
pork crackling.
We do.
Every good pub does pork crackling.
crackling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
delicious.
What else you got in the bar snacks?
We've got we've got some
Oh, that's a test. Hot chips.
hot chips.
Always
The
hot
best,
Everyone
yeah,
loves that
yeah.
chips. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's secret
Served in a
recipe chips.
Thaler measuring cone. Little
Yeah.
nod to the measuring laboratory thing. Yeah.
And I've
yeah.
heard that you actually do and you don't have to divulge it, but a bit of a secret technique to the chips, which makes them that next.
Yeah, that is a secret.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's a secret. We can't go into
No,
that.
no.
I've started doing it at home though.
Yeah. So a few house favourites, I guess, on the menu. Yeah, there are like mushroom croquettes, really popular with the
Oh, yeah.
vegetarians. They just love them. So if
And the
you're a
meat
veggie,
and even the meat eaters.
and the meat eaters
Yeah.
love them too. But I mean, they are particularly yummy. And the pizzas, of course, are great.
Yeah.
We change the menu often, which is kind of a double-edged sword because people come in specially and they
Yeah.
There's no
Their favourite thing's not
croquettes,
there.
or there's no, you know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, what's happened to the fried chicken?
Yeah,
We love the fried chicken.
But you just... The
people up in
chef,
arms.
yeah, that's chef
on
likes to keep it all really special and delicious, and not just cover all bases all the time.
Yep.
You know, but every couple of months, sooner than that, he's changing it and ringing the changes.
And that's quite a common thing in you know, for New Zealanders, especially around my age, is they're not comfortable with change. You know, whereas the youth are just constantly evolving, aren't they?
Yeah.
You know, and probably one week they're having lagers, and next week they'll be having IPAs, and maybe even trying a sour beer in the mix. You know.
Oh
Not a
yeah,
problem
no problem with that.
Whatever next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, anyone who's naughty on the opium bed probably gets sent to the classroom, the detention room. don't they?
Yes,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
could well do.
And get
Should we
told
show
to
you where that is?
To study the
Just so-
periodic table.
Yeah.
That's right.
So we're going to make our
We
way
should-
down the stairs from the opium bed, or if you'd like to stay a little bit longer on the opium bed, we suggest that you push pause and just have a snooze. We've just come down the stairs from up in the mezzanine, and we do suggest that on your way, you grab a beer and then head over, if you haven't got a beer already, into the Cosy Nook. Now tell us about this, Lisa.
So this...
What a collection.
Yes, this is the Salvation Army guy, our dear friend Mac, who has oodles of collections in ice cream tubs in his house.
Lovely.
And we said we'd really like to display some of those. So this was a boys nurturing kind of earthquake bonding thing.
Yeah.
It took bloody weeks for Martin and Mac to mount,
and
do the bays and frame, and
Yeah,
you know,
with a
it
bit
was a
of
lovely
green
thing
felt
to do.
there and behind,
Yeah,
and a display cabinet, and the list goes on.
The bed
You've got the
spanners,
key.
Where are we?
So bed spanners down the end.
Yeah.
And then you've got amazing bottle opener
yeah.
collection there. You've got a key collection. And now that's a collection based on, I believe, the bottle opener known as the Swizzler.
What, the one in the middle?
Yes, the one in the middle is a Swizzler, which is a resealing. So when you open a Tawley back in the day, you'd pop the lid off it, and then you could put the Swizzler back on top, and it would reseal.
Wouldn't you want to drink it all in one go anyway?
Well,
I mean, a real man would.
That's why they never kicked off, because no one ever needed
Who
it.
wanted
Yeah,
it?
Yeah.
We only have draft here, so we don't actually use any. So that's an ironic kind of collection.
That's an ironic,
Yeah.
It's beautiful though, isn't it? And then you got nutcrackers.
Yeah.
Air pressure.
What are they?
Is
Oh
that
yeah, tyre pressure gauge. I'm just
tyre
looking at
gauge.
the
Yeah.
plan and the lovely photo.
Swizzle sticks, which for the young ones, they wouldn't have a clue what that's about. But funnily enough, the young ones are probably the ones who are likely to hit a Bacardi breezer after 10 o'clock or something like that. And clock keys.
Clock winders.
Yeah. Clock winders.
So that's the collections.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And that'd be a great place to read a book or
Or have a family party.
have a family.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Either or.
So we're making
So
our
we're going
ways.
to the naughty boy room now, the classroom, aren't we?
Stairs came out of the Rangiruru boarding house.
I felt like I got the cane on the way up there.
The back stairs.
Yeah.
It's quite a prestigious private school in Christchurch, and
Yeah.
there's been some very intelligent young ladies come out of there. And
One of them actually visited us soon after we opened. She said, "Oh my God, I sat on that bottom stair and rung up my boyfriend on the regular phone, like you had to in those days when there's one phone and you phone after 6 o'clock because it's cheaper or whatever." And we were all agog, you know, "Well, what happened to the guy?" And she said, "Well, I married him and these are my 4 children." Oh my God.
I just got a bloody shiver,
I know,
Lisa.
it was awesome. So we sat them on the stairs and took the photo, and that was just a laboratory moment.
Yeah.
See, this
You
is
see, it happens all the time, the connections with this stuff.
Well,
Yeah.
and by I guess by sourcing so many different things from so many different places and putting them all into one.
Yeah.
It's like creating a family tree before you've created a family, isn't it? I mean, for example,
We've got a good family now.
yes, indeed,
In the
indeed.
community, yeah.
No, and
Yeah.
well, it's like a meeting house, you know, for people. I don't know. I'm just going to hazard a guess that these mannequins upstairs here that are on the roof, they'd probably be without a story, would they? Or
Well, they're not me.
they're not you.
Somebody thought that I'd gone to visit an artist, and they,
Oh.
They're not me.
They're not.
But they're rather too large for the Salvation Army to use in their shop to show their clothes off.
Right.
So they ended up in the skip.
And you went and...
hoiked them out. Actually, we had a friend who worked there.
Yes.
He hoiked them out for us.
And said,
Mac,
Martin will like those.
Mac of the bed spanner collection,
yes,
which we'll
that we've
come
yet
to later.
Bed spinners downstairs in the...
He brought us them.
Yes?
Yes, and so we stuck some red lights in them and put them on the ceiling.
Well, that was another day when Martin was talking to the electricians about how to light up here, because we said we want it real sleazy and nothing fluorescent.
That's a great choice. What should we do with upstairs? Let's make it sleazy.
It's Lincoln. Let's make it sleazy. So Martin said, I've got an idea.
Yeah.
He sent me home to bring the ladies in. So I came in with two of these things. The electricians were like, oh, no. They thought they'd seen everything.
Yeah.
And we had them hanging
down
to start with. And, they got on board and were excited. And, this wasn't the normal build for them. And when they were hanging down, you could see right up the lady's legs, and that was a bit rude.
Yeah.
So then Martin said, no, hang on a minute. I got another idea, because he's an amazing ideas person. Let's put them hanging down like that. And then they said, they've got to be high enough so that you can't touch. Yeah, okay. And then you've got to put red lights in them.
Otherwise you get those... You know, like statues when you go to Rome,
Yes.
The breasts have always got...
Shiny.
Is it David?
Yeah.
and the tip of his old fella's
that's
completely worn off.
So we didn't want any of that malarkey. No.
So we lit them up, and Martin said it's got to be a red light, right?
Yeah.
So we put one red light in behind the belly button, and it looked like one of those Nurofen adverts.
Oh, the
period pain.
Yeah.
I thought, no, that's not the right kind of thing.
No, that's not what we want.
Connotations.
Yeah.
So 2 lights. We're giving away all our secrets here. So back came the electricians. Right, 2 lights. That was the hue.
And that's a gift you can give to the people. If anyone's about to light up a mannequin, always
now
use
you know.
2.
Yeah, that's a secret.
So you're inside the laboratory, and you've just finished your beer. Why not go and have a look where that beer is made? Ladies and gentlemen, make your way out the front doors that you came in at the laboratory. I'll get it right by the end. And along the actual road front, as you turn left out the door, and you'll see a green window and on a 2-storied building there, and walk along to that window and have a wee peek in, because this is the brewery. This is where all the action happens. And have a wee look in through that window there, and you might see Damien. And now Damien's the head brewer, and we're going to have a chat to him now. So we're here in the engine room of the laboratory, and I'm joined by Damien. We've got Martin here too. Damien, you're is the correct term, the head brewer?
I believe so.
Yeah. Excellent. So you're in charge of making these delicious beers that I was trying at the bar inside, and this is where it all happens. So do you want to talk me through the process and how it sort of looks? If you're looking in through the window here, the closest round metal object that you can see closest to the window, what's that one do?
So that's called our mash tun.
Yeah.
So basically, upstairs we've got our malt store. I don't know if you've been up there yet.
No.
It's where we keep all our grains.
Yes.
And then we use gravity, and the gravity
comes down
through that tube.
Pipe. Yep.
We hydrate it through a hydrator with some hot water.
Yep.
And all the mash falls into the bottom of the mash tun and just soaks there like a big porridge, basically.
Basically, a big porridge.
45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, 45 minutes to an hour.
Yep.
And that's and the water's hot.
Yeah, around about 65 to 68 degrees, depending on
Yeah, right.
the beer we're making.
So that'd also be potentially quite a nice little spot to have a bit of a hot tub if you ever in winter. Probably
in winter, yeah.
Not so hygienic.
Not so nice in summer.
Martin's just shuffling the lid off the top of it there, so we can have a look in. And so it all sits at the bottom there, and then what happens next? You're going to take that liquid out of the mash tun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically there's a false bottom in there. So
Yep.
all the grain sits on top of that false bottom.
Yeah.
And we want to extract the wort out of the bottom of
So
the mash
the
tun.
water actually, by this stage, what are we calling it? It's not water anymore.
No, it's called wort.
Wort.
Yeah, so
There you go.
that's the liquid that we're trying to extract. So that's got all the converted starches into sugar.
Yeah.
And that's the liquid that we're going to be using to brew in the kettle.
And this is the kettle, is it?
That's the kettle, yeah. Yeah. So that can hold about 1,300 litres.
Yeah. And that's, if you're looking through the window, it's got a wooden siding on it. And is that some sort of insulation, is it?
Yeah, insulation, but mainly to look pretty.
Mainly to look pretty. Well, and it does too, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Absolutely, yeah. Very, very nice. So from there, so the wort goes into there, and then what? How long does that stay there?
For about an hour. So
Yep.
we bring it to a boil, boil it for an hour.
So we're a couple of hours in,
Yep, a couple of hours in.
Yeah, yeah.
A few coffees deep.
a few coffees deep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we boil it for about an hour. Throughout that boil, we add hops at different times.
Mm-hmm. So then we're just over 2 hours in,
Mm-hmm.
and then from there, where do we go?
From there, so it's just reached a boil.
Yep.
So it's boiled for about an hour. Then
Yep.
we let it rest for about 15 minutes, and then transfer it through a heat exchanger on the side.
It looks a little bit like a radiator.
It does.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much all it is, really. So hot wort goes into one side of the exchanger, cold water comes through the other side, which is just groundwater.
Yes.
And as it's transferring through, that cold water gets heated up,
Yep.
and the hot wort gets cooled down.
Yep.
So we want to cool that down as quickly as possible.
Right.
And then get it into our fermenters.
Yep. Which is this?
Yep. So we've got two different types of fermenter here. We've got
yeah.
these big open fermenters.
Yes.
So we can take the lid off those. They were sort of a little bit more traditional English style fermenters, I believe.
Yeah. So what do we got over there? So you've got the fermenter 1 and fermenter 2.
Yes, that's
F1
right.
and F2.
Yep. We've also got F5, so that's a conical fermenter, the closed type of fermenters.
Yep.
So that's the big one that we use for our more popular beers, like our lagers or our IPA.
Yep.
Because we just go through a bigger volume of that style of beer.
And I can see like that one in the corner there's got condensation on it. So are you actually making that cold?
Yeah. So the one in the corner
Yeah.
and these smaller ones
Yeah.
under the staircase, they're bright tanks.
Yeah.
So that's where we keep our bright conditioned beer. So it's under CO2 pressure.
Yeah.
It's cold and it's carbonated at the same time. So we fill our kegs directly from that. So that beer at the moment is 4 degrees.
Yeah, right.
So of course the heat's just in the room. And that's just one of the styles of beer that we do here. We do a lot of cask condition,
Yeah.
which is actually I'm cleaning
Like-
casks at the moment.
Yep.
So they're slightly different than your kegs that you get these days.
Yep. So this is a normal keg,
Yep.
and this is a cask keg.
Yep.
Now, what I'm noticing is the normal keg, which we've all seen one of those, has got the straight sides, and then the cask keg's got a bit of a round
belly in it.
belly to it. Yeah. Now, what's the reason for that?
So when these beers that go into the kegs go in bright. So they're clear. Sometimes they're filtered. Sometimes they're nice and bright carbonated beers.
Yeah.
The beer that goes into these will come out of the fermenters, generally out of F1 or F2, our open fermenters.
Yep.
And they'll come out at an earlier stage. So they'll do their conditioning in the cask as
In here.
opposed to in one of the bright
Yeah.
tanks.
Right.
And the reason for the belly in the cask is all the yeast settles out and sits in the, it's basically the ullage where the yeast sort of sits
Yeah.
in that little belly, and then when we drive a spile into it
Yeah.
in a tap, the spile sits just above the yeast cake.
So this hole here is where your spile will go in.
Our tap will go into there, so
Yep.
it sort of sits more directly up there.
So everything, all the chewy stuff,
Yep.
sits below the delivery hole,
It does.
so to speak,
Yeah.
without going into too much in depth. Okay, so we've got the beer and the kegs,
Mm-hmm.
and then I believe you've got a special room which is like the heart of the operation, where these get put, and then it goes all the way through to the bar for that pumping thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Shall we go there?
Yeah.
Let's have a look.
Sure.
So they're gonna sit in here for how long
for at least a week before we start to serve them. That gives them a little bit of time to condition, get a little bit of carbonation, so they are slightly carbonated, but just much lower
than the other
forced carbonated
And
beers.
going on the fact that you've essentially just got a couple of corks and a couple of holes, you wouldn't want to over pressurise them,
because they blow out.
And you'd wake up the next morning to one hell of a mess, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Have you ever done that?
Once or twice.
Yeah. It'd be quite fun just to actually
to clean it. You can come and do it for us if you want. If it happens again.
Well, no, I'm more thinking stick the bungs in and then just pressurise her up and wait for it to pop.
It'd be interesting to see how much pressure goes in there. Yeah.
You'd think that'd be a bit of a Christmas time activity, like, shall we pop another one? Oh. That'd be the days, wouldn't they? And okay, so taste-wise, from the minute they go in here until that week later, what would be the difference in the taste?
So generally when they go in, they're hazy, they're cloudy, there's a lot of yeast and suspension, so they can be quite rough, a bit green. And they just haven't had...
So they're mild a wee bit.
They're just a little bit more bitter, a little bit of yeast bite. They're a little bit less carbonated because they haven't had time to actually pressurise in the barrel. So they're just they're still fairly drinkable, but not in its prime stage. So after about a week, it's had the yeast that's been transferred in there, that's had a little bit of residual sugar to continue to ferment. That's all completed. The CO2's dissolved back into the beer. The beer's gone bright, and it's lovely.
So you... obviously you've got a fair idea at this stage what the alcohol content's going to be, yeah?
Yes. Before it goes in here, we take a
You've done a
gravity
sample,
reading.
and it shouldn't change much from there.
No, minimal change.
And Damien, last but not least, I've got one question to ask you. What's your favourite brew, mate?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Do you have a favourite one, or are you just like a pig in the proverbial and just a bit of a sucker for all of them?
A bit of a sucker for all of them.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Definitely enjoy my IPAs, but I enjoy brewing lagers.
Right.
So,
and I from what I know, because I'm a lager drinker, I'm a lager drinker, and that it's a more refined flavour, the lager, isn't it?
There's less to hide behind.
To hide behind,
So it's got to be clean, got to be crisp.
Yeah, it's like going out to the mailbox in a sheer 90,
It's exactly
Not much to hide behind there, and get to know the neighbours well. Look, Damien, I think it's been absolutely fantastic, so we'll just quickly go through and have a quick glance at the stillage, and then thanks for your time. I know you offered me the opportunity to stick around and clean a couple of kegs, but I've got
a few other things you've got to do.
Power of drinking to do this afternoon, so here we go. Martin, lead the way, mate.
Right, follow me.
And it's absolutely beautiful. For those who are having a look through the window now, you can't come through here, but you'll see a big gate, and on the north side of that is a couple of chillers, and that's where we're heading to now. So that's all your lagers and your IPAs and stuff like that in there?
Yeah.
Yep.
And then over here we've got our cask conditioning room.
Yep.
Just shut that, keep the cold.
Yeah, we've got to maintain a standard here.
This is where we put the barrels up that we're going to tap.
Yep.
The first thing is we bang a little peg in the top. It's called a spile.
Yep.
So it's actually porous, made of bamboo. You can blow through it.
Yep.
So you bang that in, and when
so that breaks the seal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just having a look, thinking maybe we can do one now.
I would love to.
Shall we? Yeah. Why don't we do this one here? So,
okay. Do you trust me?
No.
No. Okay.
Basically not.
All right. Here we go.
So
I'm glad you did that. Yep.
So you can hear that, it's letting out the pressure.
You just went one solid tap there, you wouldn't want to bugger around, would you?
And then the next thing we put in is the tap.
Make sure she's turned off, no doubt.
Yep.
Have you ever done that?
Yeah, I have done that, yeah.
You'd know all about it.
There we
Jeepers
go.
creepers, there's an art to that.
So then, got the yeast sitting underneath.
Yep.
And then...
and you hook your
beer
line onto it.
there.
Yep. Lovely, and Damien will probably clean that up.
Yeah, probably.
All right, well, Martin, it has been absolutely full. We've seen it from the mouth end right through into the belly, and it's been an absolute pleasure to be here at the laboratory. I got it right, mate.
Yeah, finally got it right.
An absolute pleasure. Feel free to stick around and have a few more drinks and have a chat to the locals. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Keith.
Thanks for listening, folks.